you need to get yourself to a point where you have cash flow, because it's only at the point of cash flow you'll realize as society I'm set.
Tell yourself the truth. Wachana na watu. When you're seated alone. Yeah? Tell you, jiangalie na ujiambie. Introspect. Jiambie ukweli. If you're living within your means, or you're living to cause a certain, to show a certain lifestyle, or you're living to fill a certain void. Because again, you talked about honest void.
It's important to save, and it's important to budget for your finances, and nobody's coming to budget for you. It's about you.
You find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Wacha kujiongezea, wacha kuzidi kuchimba. Stop digging. Look for a way out. Just stop digging. So if you're listening to this now, una feel me I'm doing like just whatever you've been doing, stop. Do something different. Take a 360 degrees and just do something different.
We're rolling. Hello, financial queens. Welcome back to another episode of Moneymoves, the Rich Woman Way, a podcast where we talk about everything finances, and of course, like we said,
Professional advice.
Yes, it's for
educational purposes. Yeah. And exploration. Okay, that was quite an introduction. Welcome
back.
The vibe here is mine.
Of course, with me, Wendy K.E.
and me, Salim Baraka.
So in our last episode, we were basically sharing about budgeting. Yeah, and
it's about to go down.
It's about to get down.
It's
about to be hot. And so you were asking like questions. And yeah, I just want us to dive right into it because I don't want us to waste time. We have like a few minutes to talk about it. Yes.
So last episode we were talking about, we learned about a budget. And one thing I remember is we talked about budgeting when you have the money at hand. You don't budget when you're expecting money, you have it in hand. And then we talked about, Wendy said something about how she handles her budget. She has 10% immediately, they call it tax, she calls it, she removes it from her income to facilitate savings. And she told us she's married, so it's not a her alone, it's a we.
Yes.
So her and her husband facilitated for savings. And she talked about emergency. So her 10% cuts through the both spaces. Yeah.
So yeah, like I was saying, we can never save our way towards wealth. So it's about saving to invest, because my why is I want to get to a place where my money is working for me and it's no longer me and my husband working for the money. So that means our investment has to be something that has profit, and it's profit throughout, so we can actually live or survive on the profit, right? Cash flow. Basically cash flow. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So yes.
So yeah, I'm the devil's advocate here. So you talked about, because again you're mentioning really big words, savings, emergency fund, and for me nimekuwa nikisikia emergency fund.
Emergency fund basically are meant for rainy days.
Okay. I have heard of it. Na ndio vizine vitu zinaitoka head knowledge. Umesikia tu, but you never see the essence of it. So first I would like her ask utuambie, when did you realize, one, that you need to save? Because I've had you why, but when did you realize that you have to save to achieve this why? And when did you realize, for somebody who maybe has not heard about an emergency fund, why should they have an emergency fund? And at what point does somebody qualify to think of an emergency fund? Because remember, we have incomers of every time. Kuna mwenye ana earn 500, kuna mwenye ana earn 1000, kuna mwenye ana earn 10, 20, 100, 150, 500. And the human beings tuko funny. Hakuna ndio utasema 50,000 is enough
for me to save and do all
is enough.
Pesa haitoshangi, like we said in an episode.
Haitoshangi.
Pesa haitoshangi. So yes, the reason as to why I choose saving is after I identified my why. What is my goal, when it comes to finances? What do I want to achieve? So after I had identified my why, just basically wanting to have cash flow and the freedom to use my time however I want to, how I choose to use my time, the freedom to spend without stressing about the next day. So after I had established my why, it was easier for me to start saving. I was like, okay, this is my why. Where do I start from?
So
because I don't see your billions and whatever of money to invest in what I want.
So before your why, were you saving?
No, I wasn't saving. Sisi ndo tulikuwa wale watu kaende tomorrow itajipanga.
If I perish,
I perish. Until I met my husband, right? So basically what I'm trying to say, my marriage has been a game changer, especially on matters finances, how I view finances, because how you handle finances as Faith right now as a single person, like you mentioned, you're single, is different from how you handle how you handle finances as a married person or as a couple, right? So I established my why, and after I had established my why, basically our why, my husband and I's why, we were able to draw a conclusion to, okay, how do we get to that goal? Where do we start from? And for us, we looked at it and said, okay, saving works for us. So where can we save our money? MMF. We are thinking of stocks. We are thinking of bonds, So yes, so just to answer your question, after we had established our why, it was easier for us to decide now where do we start from. So what was the other question? For somebody who has like small
because again, always ambia mtu mwenye ana earn 500 or mtu mwenye ana earn 5,000,
let me tell you,
emergency fund. Ama unaweza mwambia,
let me tell you, naweza mwambia kwa sababu ni wewe unajua penye kiatu inakufinyia, and until you get to a point where you feel like I wish I knew, you'd never understand why. For example, the importance of this emergency fund. For example, the way our economy runs saizi, kuna recess, watu wanafutwa kazi, things happen, and maybe you were depending on your salary end month. You ulikuwa depend on end month because you were sure end month ikifika I have something to put in my pocket, junalipwa, unaona. But sasa here comes job yako imefanya nini, imeisha, because it happens, right? So that is where your emergency fund kicks in. Emergency fund is money that is supposed to hold you or sustain you for a certain amount of time as you figure out your next move.
Which, how do you know, how do I know my emergency fund is enough?
Depending with what you're saving, Faith. I cannot tell you that so ukifika milioni, your emergency fund is supposed to be able to sustain the lifestyle you're living right now, without you taking a loan, without you asking money from someone else. Yes, it's supposed to be able to sustain hii lifestyle yenye unaishi saizi for a certain period of time, even if it's 1 year, 2 years, as you look for something else to do or something else to invest in.
So basically, you're the one who determines how long.
Yes.
You're the one to say, because again, I hear experts say, do 6 months. Some people say do 1 year. Some people say at least whatever works for you, whatever is ample time
for you
to secure you as you move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Let me tell you like a story. So recently we switched houses, and it's because my husband is a farmer. He rears like kienyeji chicken, so we needed like space where we were at. The space, the chickens were like walikuwa wengi, so it couldn't like hold the number of chicken that we have, so we had to look like for a bigger space. Guess what came through for us to move? the emergency fund. And moving to Bob Faith, if you kuhama, you are an adult, you've moved houses, and you know how expensive it is to move houses. If, for example, for us, we were using movers to move, they have to be paid because hao ndio wanafanya kila kitu, you see. So at that juncture, the emergency fund ndo ili come through, like money we had set aside, unaona tulikuwa tumesave kwa money market fund, hiyo ndo ili come through, and that's why we were able to move comfortably without feeling a pinch, because it's already money that was there saved for such a moment. You get, kuna watu wanaenda hosi, wanafika wanapata maybe their medical cover is not working and you need cash, and it's ile place pa a matter of life and death. Utakaa ukianza kupiga simu watu wakuchangie.
Kuna watu wanajua tu mabros wata come through.
But siku yenye mabroza wako, siku yenye bro sasa hana, na si ati hataki kukusaidia, ni ukweli hana at that point. What happens to you? So you can never put your finances on somebody else's hands. It's for you. Like, you have to take the initiative, you have to take responsibility for your finances. You get my point? You can never depend on somebody to come to your rescue when it comes to your finances, because you can only help somebody for as long as you can, but after that, what happens to you? Because life happens.
Basa wewe I want to tetea huyu mtu mwenye anasema I hear you, you're preaching gospel, hallelujah. But hata yeye anapata hii 5k yangu 10k yangu hata itoshi, hata sasa unataka hiyo basic needs hata itoshi. Unaweza ambia huyo mtu nini?
Faith, like I said, unless you know your why, I go back to your why. It will never occur to you why it's important for you to save or keep money or have money somewhere as you wait to invest, to do other things. You have to have your why until you get to that place where it makes sense for you. Why am I supposed to save at this point? No matter what advice I give you, it would never make sense to our audience or to somebody who is listening and they're in that category. Like, unakumbuka there's a time we were having a conversation in one of our linear episodes, and you're like, ikikufinya ikakupeleka kwa, to the wall, now you're in between a rock and a hard place. Hapo ndio unaanza, na most of the time, by the way, binadamu tunapenda hiyo penye tunafika panic for us to realize why it's important for us to take certain measures or certain precautions. But I'm like, how about you start now so that you don't wait for the future for you to start panicking last minute to find a solution. Alafu sasa unakuja unakasirikia bro wako because you are entitled towards them kukusaidia. You get my point. Unamkasirika hizi kukusaidia. Fake friends. Oh, I'm cutting you off because when I was in my lowest moment, you didn't help me. Yeah. And you don't realize huyu pia labda shit yake. Yes, So it's wewe get your why. Once you get your why, but you'll invest, Faith, because at the same time senye unaongelelea watu they are getting low and they can't save, at the same time there's somebody who is getting low and they are saving. So what's the difference between you and the next person?
And that's what we want to explore. That's what I think, that's what I want to come out. What is the difference? Like why last we unatuona like mbona ya mama unakata mboga, mbona uamue yake sasa mimi naenda, I'm going to start saving, I'm going to, and where do you start from? Because for me that was the question. Because for so long I could not even think about that saving because whatever I was getting literally was ilikuwa ina go to bills, because it wasn't even making bills.
Let me tell you, let me ask you, Faith, now
before
that you said that, before you got a job. So what sparked your interest? Now that you're saying you're saving right now. See, right now you're saving. Yes. What sparked your interest despite the fact that kuna hii kitu yenye unapata? Whether it's much, whether it's little, what sparked your interest towards saving? Why did you start saving?
I'll tell you a pay background story, and I'm trying to be very short. So to remember that conversation we had where we were searching how to be rich. Unapata job and you're like, all your problems will be solved unapata
By this
pana
one job,
hakuna, yeah.
yeah.
So you want the first thing that comes to your mind, get rich quick strategies.
But for example, you are working 2 jobs.
Yes.
Why are you working 2 jobs?
Sindo lini ijai itoshe, right?
Na inatosha. Inatosha. Tuambie. Tell us more of the story.
I realized that there was something wrong somewhere because when I got that second job and still nilikuwa na feel bado, right? Mpaka nasema ama nianze kutafuta gigs mahali kwingine, you know. I'm just thinking I need more income. If I have more income, that's why. But I realized no, the more uko na more income, the more unasikia sana sitaki kukula mboga.
Lifestyle ina change. Lifestyle inakuwa shida yetu. When we get more money, lifestyle yetu ina change. And we also need to talk about zinakuta. And there's nothing wrong again towards wanting better. Yes. You understand?
You just have to do it
the right way. You have to have your priorities set right?
Yeah. So when I realized that, so I stumbled actually this year. We were reading a book, the book that began this journey, and from there we talked about awareness and tracking our expenses. So I began tracking my expenses, and I found I was spending my money on very, very unserious things. Not unserious in the fact that I didn't want them, but they were not necessarily.
Looking at your financial situation then
they were not
sense.
Yeah, like why would you aujanunua sabuni kwa nyumba lakini unakula coffee Java every day? It makes sense, you know. True. And then unabaki you're regretting. You know it's a bad spend, women. You know it's bad when umerudi home na kuna hizo viatu lakini unasikia ngoni smart lakini kuna kitu ndani yako unasikia tu
ilikuwa viatu lakini ulale njaa. You see, priority. So that's why I'm saying, unless you know your why, your priorities will keep being wrong. You'll keep spending on the wrong things. You'll keep feeling like yenye unapata ni kidogo, you cannot save. But mimi faith ikikufia tu vizuri, wait, utasave.
So I stumbled upon another book, The Richest Man in Babylon, and basically it really changed my mindset about saving, because he was basically saying, whoever you are, whatever you're earning, if you just discipline yourself, like that, because I'm coming to that 10%, if you just discipline yourself to remove 10%, you can live within your means. True. Because when it comes to budget, you're the one in charge of your budget. When unaweza jua ukibudget unaweza jua I don't need this, this one I need, this one I cannot live without, this one, you know,
because it doesn't make sense for you if you're earning 10,000 na unaishi kwa nyumba ya 8k. Utasave sana ngapi? Pesa itawaitosha. You just feel like money is never. But shida yetu is we are afraid to start from scratch. Tunatakanga tuanzie huku and
tunajidanganya. I think that's the main thing.
Yes, we like ourselves so much.
Because again, I remember the book that I was reading before that. Tell yourself the truth. Wachana na watu. When you're seated alone. Yeah. Tell you, jiangalie na ujiambie. Introspect. Jiambie ukweli. If you're living within your means, or you're living to cause to show a certain lifestyle, or you're living to fill a certain void. Because again, you talked about honest voids.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And that is now where the emotional bit of how we relate with money comes in. Continue.
So you need to know first, awareness. How much money do I have? So you know how much money you have. Hii pesa inaenda wapi? Nimetoka na so asubuhi. Hii so imetumika aje? Knowing where your money is going is important. Then from then you can know, okay, this money I have budgeting.
It's almost like you can, if you cannot be accountable with the little you have, it means even when you have much, you still not be able to be accountable.
Kuna watu hapa nje wana drive V8, lakini madeni mpaka hapa.
You know,
and it's sad. We're not saying it to make you feel bad. If you're in this situation, we're not saying it to make you feel bad.
They're trying to finance a lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's not yet bado hawajafikia, because Another thing we always say is, one, wealth is measured in assets. It's not about the amount of money you have in your bank account. And I'm beginning again to think wealth is measured in cash flow.
It is.
Right?
It is. Somebody said it is what remains after you've
spent.
Umelipa rent, ama kama uko na nyumba yako, you've paid electricity bills, you have your car, whatever. If you have a car, you have it fuel. If you don't have a car, whatever, you've spent. Wealth is what.
And actually, that is also where an emergency fund comes in terms of your emergency fund is able to fund your lifestyle such that if you're driving a car, gari yako haitasimama kwa mlango.
You may lose job
ama nini. So that's why an emergency fund is also important in that aspect. Like your lifestyle will continue even after something has happened, you know. So that's why also it's important to realize, even as you're working towards having an emergency fund or you're working towards saving, you need to get yourself to a point where you have cash flow, because it's only at the point of cash flow you'll realize, as saizi I'm set.
Yeah, and I'll echo back to what Wendy says. It begins with your why.
Yes, your why.
And you cannot have your why if you're not aware, right? You cannot say I'm going to Kisumu if you don't know where you are. Mtu wa boda ataki akikushika ama akikubeba ama mtu wa mat takuuliza unaenda wapi? From where you are, right? But you can't be in the middle of nowhere going, where are you going? Right? How will you get there? Right? So for me, I really love to echo, because again, all these things, savings, emergency fund, investments, it is what azizifanyika, they can't even come to your mind if you're not even aware. What do you want financially for yourself as a woman? Yeah. What are your goals? Where do you want to be financially? Where are you now? Because again, we like dreaming. Tell me a dream.
And it's okay to dream.
Yes. But you need to also be very realistic with yourself. Where are you now? The life you're living, can you maintain it? Because statistics show that, is it 67? We don't have it correctly, but we'll get it for you. That a lot of Kenyans, more than half of Kenyans in this country, are living
hand to mouth.
Like they're living way above their means.
Oh, way above
their means. Like, let's say you're earning 10K, but expenses zako tukicheck at the end of the month, you've spent 20 G's. Fuliza, Mshwari. That's when debt.
Oh, we'll talk about debt.
We need to talk about it. Yeah, so that's where
good debt and bad debt.
So that's where bad debt comes from. Bad debt comes from overspending what you have. But imagine, ume decide tunachukua Wendy's sample budget. You're working with budget. Unajua budget hauwezi budget kitu. And I like that. You can't budget what you don't have. So budget is always realistic, because it is working with what is in your hand. It's not dreams, yeah? So when you're working with your budget, one, already you're within your means. So kama umetoa your 10%, if you can live within what is remaining, after before we talk about investment, you're winning.
True.
Because you're truly financially independent.
And you know, as you speak, Faith, something has come to my mind. Kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba. Another thing we do not have is patience. Tunataka quick money, quick fixes. Like walikuwa nasema we are a microwave generation. Like tunataka vitu za haraka. What we need to understand, even the wealthy, it didn't happen overnight. They started somewhere. Like for us, we have started with saving. They probably also started with saving. You know, they probably took a risk and invested in, let's say, kitu yenye ilikuwa inavuma at the time, kama ni stock, you know, marketing, kama ni nini, they took that risk and decided to invest there, right? If they decided to invest in bonds, they started from somewhere. But sasa shida yetu is tunataka ya haraka. Na hata hii haraka tukipata, we are quick to spend and not quick to budget and quick to save and quick to, you know, just account for our money.
Easy come, easy go.
Easy go. You understand? Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to do better, and we need to realize our why, and we need to understand that it's important to save, and it's important to budget for your finances, and nobody's coming to budget for you. It's about you.
Adulting.
It starts with you, it ends with you.
Adulting.
You get.
Yeah.
So what I keep saying is, I'm glad we are privileged to live in a time where we have this kind of information. Like for us, we don't have an excuse whatsoever. We do not.
Okay, so I disagree with that. We still have, we always have an excuse.
Which is,
people always have excuses. Like you will always, if you want to find an excuse, let me tell you, you'll always find an excuse. And most of the times our excuses are valid. Remember when we had that conversation? You can find excuses, but the thing is, at the end of the day, will you
I think, just have
bag
a
on
drive.
yeah, will you bag on excuses, or will you do results?
Because the more you give excuses, the more time inaenda, and the more you remain in the same place, and then we become depressed. We feel like we are not moving because we give ourselves. You will always find an excuse.
Yes.
You will always find an excuse.
And
You will always justify,
And that's the problem with also our
look
generation.
so valid. Yeah, it will look so valid, and by the time you look back, you're like, I wish I started. I wish I did something about it. I wish. So unabaki kwa ile place pa, I wish I could. I wish I did this. But instead of getting yourself to such a space, why can't you start now? Just try and do away with the excuses and try and do something for yourself. Like I said, it starts with you and ends with you.
And for somebody who's labda tunameingilia sana, this is what I can say. I was researching the difference between being a victim and being a victim and having a growth mindset. Both of these people have the same scenarios, but one will say, okay, the situation is bad. Anyway, niko hapa, Faith, I'm here, I'm in debt, I owe like $1 million people everywhere, I don't know what to do with my money. But you can tell yourself, victim mindset says, okay, I am in this mess, so it is what it is. You mnihurumie, ni hivi, that's my reality, this is where I'm gonna stay. But a growth mindset says, okay, I may not be able to figure out everything, but can I make even a tiny small step today towards the right direction? 1,000 tiny steps towards the right direction, you'll find your way in the right direction.
Because even with debt, Faith, you can decide to always get something small to kidogo to
pay them off.
the debt.
And we're talking about bad debt, yeah?
Yes, to pay off the debt. Like I said, where there is a will, there is a way. You will always get an excuse, but unless you sit down to analyze your situation, you'll always feel like you can never find a solution. But if you sit to analyze and just decide that from henceforth I'm budgeting with my money, it doesn't matter how much debt I have, I'm working towards paying it, and this certain amount of money goes towards paying debts.
I love what somebody once said, and somewhere I was watching another podcast, and they say, if you ever find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Yeah, you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Wacha kujiongezea,
Wacha kuzidi kuchimba.
Stop digging. Look for a way out. Just stop digging. So if you're listening to this now, una feel just whatever you've been doing, stop. Do something different. Take a 360 degrees and just do something different. Because you can, insanity is doing the same thing the same way, expecting
a different result.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you do something different, you are guaranteed a different result. Yeah. So as I love the fact that through this conversation, two things have stand out. Know your why. Tell yourself the truth. Right?
Yeah.
You can save. Hata more than 500, you can save. Yeah.
Still save that 50 bob yenye umesave, but also
Patience. Also,
now patience na watu wasisahau, save where there is value for money.
That one we'll handle next episode.
Next episode. But just to touch on it, there is a podcast I was listening to, and this young beautiful lady was sharing that you need to save according to the economy's what's the term for
Inflation rate.
Yeah, inflation rate. if where you're saving is less than the inflation rate, then toa pesa yako huko. Where you're saving, the percentage should be more than the inflation rate, but we'll cover that in the next episode, of course.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. But basically, guys, we can't stress this enough times, but it's important to save. It's important to budget for your money. I get it, even as young people, as women, we are going through stuff, and sometimes we feel like we are too far gone, highways kabisa, highways, but ours is just to encourage you that we've been there. Some of us have been there, and like we said, like you said, we stopped digging.
Yes.
We stopped digging, and we're like, okay, what's the way out? Nikamba, tujivute tutoke. You get my point. So yeah, it's possible to do better, become better when it comes to finances, and it's possible to budget. Just have your why.
Mic drop. Hey, mic drop. Hey, bwana. Hey. Yeah.
So yeah, guys, that was it for today. If you've learned something, talk to us in the comment section. Any experience you'd love to share in line with what we have talked about today or what we have shared today, you can comment on the comment section. Remember to subscribe, remember to share the video, and of course, I was your host, Wendy KE.
I am your single host. See you guys.
Bye, guys. I love you.
Read it.